Who's your number one? Who's your number two? If you could only bet on two here to achieve super intelligence, AGI, let's just say win the AI the big prize, super intelligence, AGI, in the midterm, 5 years. 5 years from now, we're sitting here. Thomas, give me your number one. Give me your number two.
Look, I think to me, number one, I still think NVIDIA, right? I don't see the GPU kind of getting displaced. I see additional architectures kind of coming on board, right, and growing the market. But at the end of the day, all roads still lead to the GPU for all of these models. So I would kind of still put kind of NVIDIA on that. My number two, more of a dark horse, but I would pick Tesla. I do think it has the most potential for vertical integration, right, from all the way the silicon to the model to actually the hardware, right? That might become super important, not just in cars, but in Optimus. So NVIDIA one, Tesla is my dark horse.
Wow. Stunning. Chamath, who's your number one and number two in the midterm? 5 years from now, we're sitting here on All In, episode 700.
Tesla's one and Google's two. And the reason is because they are the closest to having that vertically integrated stack that I spoke about. I think that Tesla has the best vision models. Now with XAI, they'll have one of the best LLMs and reasoning models, and they'll be able to eventually stick that on Dojo. And then all of that will be in all of the physical AI that you will interact with in your daily life, whether it's a robot or whether it's a car or whether it's a robotaxi. So that's number one. And then number two, for many of the same reasons, I think Google. Because you'll have the Gemini family of models, which just absolutely kick ass, like VO3, which we haven't really spoke about, is going to destroy Hollywood. Like in the next year, like Hollywood is done, I think. But they're landing model after model. They have the TPU, and the next generation TPU, I think, is exceptional. They're baking quantum, and then they have an entire funnel of billions of people that they can direct experiences to. So Tesla one, Google two.
Chamath, quick follow-up on that. I'm curious on Google. This is because I oscillate a lot on this particular name. Can Google win if search declines?
Yes. And I think that what probably has to happen is, bear with me when I say this, but if you had to boil down Google's economic North Star metric, right? Not the value North Star, the economic North Star metric would be price per click. And I do think that Google is extremely well positioned to pivot that to price per token. And I think that they have some emergent classes of physical AI, but they have the largest pool of people where they can generate a price per token value framework through YouTube, through Gmail, through Workspace. I think through search, but probably it's a different kind of model. It just requires them to rip the Band-Aid off at some point. But yeah, I think Google can do it.
I'm going to go with you, Chamath. I'm one. My one and two are either Google or Elon. And I'll just say Elon because like you, I spent a day up at XAI and I saw what a magnet for talent he is. I got to sit in some meetings and he was interviewing people and he was working with that talent 8:00 at night. There's a lot of people there on a Saturday grinding it out. It was nuts.
I first went to XAI. In the 15 minutes that I was in the parking lot finishing a call, the kinds of people that were walking in and out of there, you could tell they were big brains.
Yeah.
I don't know how, you know what I mean? Like from every walk of life, they all just looked much smarter than the rest of us.
Yeah.
And some of them were like chain smoking cigarettes and just like stressed out. It was crazy.
I had a couple of Zins, I'll be totally honest. But the reason I say Elon versus Google is I think Elon's in a unique position. I don't have any insider information here and I haven't talked about this or I'm not back channeling from Elon lest anybody aggregate this. I think what Colossus has done and what Tesla has done, both of these things, Tesla with their own stack of hardware, to your point, Chamath, hardware plus software, plus the user application of FSD and Optimus. Then you put that together with the data, the real-time data of X, formerly known as Twitter, plus what he's building with XAI, and obviously those two companies merged. I think Tesla board, XAI board have to get together, put those two companies together.
Yeah,
one's worth $1 trillion, one's worth $100 billion.
Agreed.
Put them and just have all that brain power going in one direction, as opposed to Elon test switching between the two. You do that, I think he wins number one. You don't do that, I think he either gets one or two, and then I think Google is going to have a better search product, Thomas. I think it's a really important point. Do they lose search share? Doesn't matter. What I think matters is, are their ads more effective? Is their ad network more effective? And I think based on what they know on you from your chat searches and your discussions and what they analyze in your email, just analyzing your Gmail and your surfing behavior and Chrome, if they get to keep it, your Android phone, if you use it, your YouTube list and when you drop off All In and when you start listening to another podcast, whatever it is, all that data is going to lead to an ad network that performs so much better that even if they lose search share, their ad network is going to continue to grow. And I think it will increase in velocity. So those are my top two. Friedberg, I'm curious from your position, which one you think is number one and number two? I saved you for last because you know what we do here? We save the best for last, Friedberg. Go ahead.
I think there's a difference in how I would kind of lump them. I think that Tesla probably it is the best place to invest if you want to have a shot at a massive new industry. So they've got a baseline business in obviously the automobiles, but I think this humanoid robot opportunity is absolutely mind-blowingly ginormous. And I don't think that there's a better company on earth positioned to execute against this humanoid robotics opportunity than Tesla. So, it's sort of like, I would call it a low probability, high upside sort of call option embedded within that business. And obviously you're paying a premium for that because it is still a very healthy premium you pay for that business. I think NVIDIA, to Thomas's point, I think the common thesis is it is the most protected. The durability of the business is there. But I would argue that there's actually a low probability but very high severity risk to NVIDIA in China. There was just a demonstration last month of a 1 nanometer semiconductor manufacturing process out of China. I think the more that we continue to try and isolate China from a policy perspective, the more we are emboldening investment in China, meaning from the government, from private industry into China to create alternatives to the chip stack, where the United States companies, particularly NVIDIA, have a moat today. So I do think that there's going to be an emergent competitive threat coming out of China to NVIDIA. And just like we were knocked over by DeepSeek, I think we will be knocked over by some semiconductor manufacturing processes coming out of China in the near term. But the overall kind of...
By the way, Dave, just on that point, I think Sachs's work on the diffusion rule, just generally, I don't think has kind of gotten enough attention in the rescinding of the diffusion rule, which essentially handicapped our ability to even arm our allies, right, with our semiconductor technology. In my opinion, was kind of a milestone and very important moment to try and offset exactly what you were just describing.
That's exactly right. I mean, there was a report a few months ago, and I mentioned it on the show, or maybe I didn't, or maybe I sent it to Sachs and we talked about it offline. I can't remember, but it was about a $40 billion investment being made in developing competitive semiconductor manufacturing full stack solutions out of China. So I do think that the lithography IP moat is being crossed in China. I do think that China is developing actually new technology for DUV and EUV systems. I do think that there's a risk to NVIDIA's core. Now, look, NVIDIA is such a durable business. There's great moats, great advantages, but we're creating every incentive for an alternative to NVIDIA to emerge from China. And then my third kind of categorization would be, what's the portfolio solution? I think that's Google. I think that there's a diversification of high beta bets inside of Google, of any one of which could have, call it $1 trillion market cap outcome, ranging from Waymo to quantum computing to the biologics work that Demis is working on out of Isomorphic. There's a number of things that do not get a lot of attention at Google. So yes, there's a core business that may be at risk, Thomas, but I think that there's a portfolio of options you get at Google, and you just need any one of them to hit to kind of make up for the loss. But I do think also Sundar, in my interview with him, which we put out a couple of weeks ago, is very thoughtful about where search evolves to. And he is being, I think, reasonably aggressive in trying to evolve the search product architecture to meet the market, to meet the consumer. I do give him credit for that. So Google would be in a good place for me as an overall kind of pick in that set of options.
So just to be clear, NVIDIA 1, Google 2, or NVIDIA Tesla?
Like I said, I think in terms of like having the right Sharpe ratio is how I would think about it, the alpha and the beta adjusted returns, I would put Google number one. I would probably put Tesla. Tesla's valuation, I think, already has a premium associated with those options.
Sure, it
so I don't
does,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if I would really pay that premium. I think.
Well, aside from the valuations, let's take valuations out of it. Just the game here is who wins the AI
Yeah,
prize 5 years
that's
from
how
now.
I understood it as well. Yeah. So
Right,
valuation irrelevant.
Valuation irrelevant. Who wins the AI prize? One, you're saying Google. Two, you're saying Tesla.
I think Google's in such a position. I mean, look, Demis, I think, has been fairly coy about where they are. They obviously promote Gemini 2.5, but there's a lot still coming. And as Chamath pointed out, it's not just LLMs. There's a pretty sizable family of models, including a lot of these graph-based models that are being used in really novel applications that no one else is even close to. No one's spending time on. I mean, some of the weather forecasting, it might seem small and trivial, but it's a demonstration of Google's competency in core model development that shows an understanding and a depth of research and work that goes well beyond LLMs. So I'm pretty bullish on the depth of talent, the full stack.
Yeah, and whatever they learn there could apply to Gmail, could apply to search, could apply to ads, could apply to YouTube algorithm, right? It just goes up and down. Yeah.
Yeah, from a product perspective, I do think you see this kind of multi-model emergence that we're now seeing. That no one talks about the single model that sits behind the application. There are multiple models that work together. And obviously, this agentic architecture unlocks another layer of not just kind of solutions to complexity.
Sure.
And so there's quite a lot, I think, that's emergent here that Google will start to kind of benefit from in the year ahead.